My English neighbor came over last Tuesday and told me he had canceled his gym membership. $60 a month, he said, to drive to a building and walk on a rubber belt in a room with no windows. He had been doing it for 3 years. His knees still hurt and his sleep was still bad. His doctor still had him on the same pills. He said he was walking on that machine for 30 minutes 3 times a week, and after 3 years he could not point to a single thing it had fixed. He asked me what I do for exercise. I told him I do not do anything for exercise. I just live. I walk to the barn and back before the sun clears the tree line. I walk the fence line along the creek to check the water for the Belgians. I walk to the mailbox and back, which is a quarter-mile each way on the dirt lane. I walk behind the team in the field when the plowing needs doing, and I walk to the neighbors when something needs saying that the telephone cannot carry. My grandfather did this every day of his working life, 18,000 steps behind a plow, and he never counted one. He never called any of it exercise because the word did not apply to what he was doing. He was just getting from one job to the next, the way people have moved on this land for 200 years. And somebody is making a very comfortable living from the fact that my English neighbor forgot that walking was free. My name is Noah Yoder, and I am Amish. I farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. My grandfather walked this same land until he was 83 and his body was sounder at the end than most men half his age. Today I want to show you what walking does to your body when you do it the way the old folks did. Outside, on real ground, under real sky, with no machine and no monthly bill. Before I go further, for the folks who want everything I have taught on this channel in one place, I have put it together in a book. The link is in the description. I will not push it again. An honest word before we get into this. I am not a doctor, and I am not pretending to be one. I am a farmer whose family has been walking this land for generations without a gym or a fitness plan, and I want to show you the plain reason that works. I am not telling you to stop taking anything your doctor gave you. If you are under a doctor's care for your joints, your heart, or anything else, talk to your doctor before you change your habits. What I am showing you is what my family does and has done for 200 years on this county, and the plain reason behind it. Nothing I am about to show you costs money, and none of it requires a prescription. A few things about walking specifically. If your knees or hips give you trouble, start with short walks on flat ground, 10 minutes, not 30. Build up the way you would build a fence, one post at a time. Walking is the gentlest movement the human body does. The load on your joints is about 1.5 times your weight with each step, compared to 3 or 4 times when you run. The ground matters too. Pavement is harder on the body than grass or dirt, so if you have a soft path, use it. And wear shoes for walking on pavement. This is different from the barefoot practice we talked about before. That one is for the grass. This one is for the road. I will not have you hurting your knees on my account. If you use a cane or a walker, use it. There is no shame in the tool that keeps you upright. The walk still works with a cane in your hand. The legs are still moving. The cleaning system is still flowing. The sun is still reaching your face. A slow walk with a cane on the grass beats a fast walk on treadmill by a distance I could not measure. The treadmill gives you the speed, but strips out every other thing the body needs. And I will be honest with you later about why the people who sell gym memberships have never once mentioned that the road in front of your house does what their building does, and more. That part comes later, so stay with me. The first thing I want you to understand is what you are missing when you walk on a machine instead of walking outside. My neighbor on his rubber belt was getting one thing. His legs were moving. And if moving your legs were the whole point of walking, the belt would be enough. But the legs were never the whole point. When I walk to the barn in the morning, the sun hits my face before I reach the door. That light does the work we talked about in the first video on this channel. The clock in the brain resets. The skin starts making what the bones need. When my boots hit the dirt path, the ground sends information up through my feet about where I am standing and how the ground tilts and whether the footing is firm or soft. We talked about that in the barefoot video. When I pass through the stand of oaks on the ridge, the air under those trees carries the compounds the Japanese researchers have been measuring, the ones that strengthen the immune cells and settle the stress. We talked about that in the trees video. One walk to the barn gives me all of those things at the same time. The light, the ground, the trees, the air, the uneven terrain that asks my feet and my ankles and my balance to work. My neighbor on his rubber belt in a room with no windows got none of it. He got the leg movement and nothing else. He was paying a monthly fee for one piece of something. The lane to my barn delivers whole every morning at no cost. And there is something else the machine cannot give him. When I walk outside, the walk is never finished in the way a machine decides it is finished. The machine beeps and the belt stops and the walk is over. My walk to the barn leads to the walk to the field, which leads to the walk to the creek, which leads to the walk back to the house for coffee. The walking weaves through the work the way thread weaves through cloth. You cannot pull one out without unraveling the other. By mid-morning, I have walked farther than my neighbor walks in a week, and I was never exercising. I was feeding the animals and checking the fence and carrying water and looking at the sky to see whether the rain was coming. The walking happened because the living required it and the body received what it needed without anybody having to plan for it. Watching this difference play out between my world and his for 20 years has taught me something the gym never could. His body got the machine version of walking, flat, controlled, measured, indoors, always the same belt under the same lights. My body got the real version, varied, unpredictable, outdoors, woven into work that gave the walking a purpose beyond the walking itself. His knees are worse than they were at 50. Mine are about where they were at 40, and I work harder than he ever has. I am not saying that to boast. I am saying it because the difference between us has nothing to do with genetics or willpower. The difference is that his walking was stripped down to its smallest part, and mine was left whole. There is a feeling the lane has in early October when the leaves are turning on the ridge and the morning air carries that first bite of cold. The Belgians come to the fence when they hear my boots on the gravel, and the barn cats follow me halfway before they decide the trip is not worth their trouble. That walk has been part of my morning for as long as I can remember, and yet it has never once been the same walk twice, because the ground changes, and the light changes, and the season changes, and the body notices all of it even when the mind is thinking about something else. Before we go on, for the folks who want help putting these old ways to work, Ruth and I have put together a community where we walk through all of this together. The link is in the description. Now here is the part most folks have never been told, and once you hear it, sitting in a chair for 8 hours will feel different than it ever has before. Your blood has a pump. You know it well. It sits in your chest and beats every second of your life. But there is another system running through your body alongside the blood. This system carries the cells that fight infection, cleans out the waste your body produces every hour of every day, and keeps the whole operation running the way a good drainage ditch keeps a field from flooding. The researchers call it the lymphatic system. I think of it as the cleaning crew. Here's what makes it different from the blood. The blood has a heart to push it. The cleaning crew has no pump at all. None. The only thing that moves it through your body is the squeezing action of your muscles when you move. Every time your calf muscle contracts with a step, it squeezes that fluid forward the way you squeeze water through a hose by pinching it with your hand. When you walk, the system flows. When you sit, the system stalls. The waste builds up, the immune cells sit idle, and the whole cleaning operation slows to a crawl. Think of a drainage ditch on a farm where the only thing that moves the water is you walking along it and pressing the walls with your boots. You would understand instantly why the ditch floods when you stop walking. That is what happens inside your body when you sit for hours at a stretch. The drainage stalls and the fluid pools and the cleaning crew cannot reach the places it needs to reach because nothing is pushing it there. You have felt this without knowing what it was. The stiffness in your legs after a long car ride. The heaviness in your ankles after a day at the desk. The puffiness in your hands when you wake up after sleeping without moving. All of that is the cleaning system falling behind because the muscles were not squeezing. The fluid that should have been moving was sitting still, and the waste that should have been cleared was accumulating. You stood up and walked to the bathroom, and the stiffness eased, and you thought you were just stretching your legs. You were restarting a pump. He was sitting at his desk for 8 or 9 hours a day. During those hours, the system that carries his body's defense and cleanup crew was parked. Then he drove to the gym, walked on the belt for half an hour, and drove home and sat down again. He was moving his legs for that half hour and parking the cleaning crew for the other 23 and a half hours. The system barely had time to stir before it stopped again. He thought the problem was that he needed more intense exercise. The problem was that he needed less intense sitting. Nobody in my community sits for 8 hours. The men are walking and lifting and carrying from before sunrise until supper. The women are in the garden, in the kitchen, hanging the wash, walking to the neighbors with a plate in their hands. Movement is not something we add to the day, it is the day itself. And that cleaning system runs from morning until dark because the body never stops asking it to. When you start walking regularly after years of sitting, the cleaning system takes a few days to wake up. You may feel sore in the calves at first. That is the pump remembering its job. The muscles are contracting in ways they have not been asked to contract in years, and the fluid is moving through channels that have been sluggish for a long time. By the end of the first week, the soreness fades and something else takes its place. A lightness in the legs, a clarity in the head, a feeling that the body is running cleaner than it was 7 days ago. That is the drainage doing what it was built to do, finally given the movement it needed. The honest word on this, walking will not undo a disease you already have, but the system that cleans your body and carries your immune cells cannot do its work while you sit in a chair. Walking is the only thing that makes it run. There is a difference between exercise and necessity, and for this system, walking is necessity. If you cannot walk for that full stretch, you do not need to. 10 minutes, 3 times a day moves the cleaning system the way 3 short rains water a field. Walk to the mailbox and back. Walk around the house before lunch. Every time you stand and move, the calf muscles squeeze and the fluid that was pooling starts to flow. The body does not care about the schedule. It counts the movement. There is one more piece, and it ties the morning walk to the night. Add a second walk in the evening, after supper. 20 minutes at a gentle pace, nothing strenuous. When you walk in the early evening, your body temperature rises slightly. When you stop and sit down, the temperature drops, and that drop is one of the signals your body uses to begin the slide toward sleep. Ruth walks the loop past the garden and the barn and back to the porch every evening. She has been doing it for 40 years and has never needed a pill to sleep. She is asleep within 20 minutes of lying down, and she would tell you it has nothing to do with willpower and everything to do with the walk. That neighbor of mine tried this after he quit the gym. He started walking the county road after supper, just 15 minutes out and 15 minutes back. After 2 weeks, he told me he was falling asleep faster than he had in years. He had not changed his diet or his pills or the temperature of the room or what time he went to bed. The only change was the walk, and the walk changed everything about his evening that the pills and the machines and the sleep apps had never been able to touch. His body was finally getting the temperature signal and the movement signal it was built to receive at the end of the day. I was not surprised. I have watched this work too many times on too many people to be surprised by it anymore, though I am always glad to see it. The evening walk has a quieter feel than the morning one. The light is softer, the air has cooled from the heat of the day, and there is a settling quality to the world at that hour that you can feel in your shoulders before you notice it in your mind. The birds are different in the evening, scattered, winding down, finding their roosts. If you walk past trees, the air under them is cooler and thicker than the air in the open, and the body reads the change the way it reads a blanket pulled over the shoulders. The morning walk wakes the body up. The evening walk lets it down gently, and between the two of them, the body receives what it was built to receive at both ends of the day. An honest word about the limits. An evening walk will not fix a sleep problem caused by a medical condition. If your doctor has you on something for sleep, keep taking it and talk to your doctor first. What the walk does is give your body the signal it was built to receive at the end of the day, and for many folks, that signal is enough. Remember what I said at the start about somebody making a comfortable living from my neighbor forgetting that walking was free. Here is who. A gym membership runs $45 to $60 a month. Over 20 years, the middle of that range comes to $12,600 spent to walk in place inside a building with no windows. A home treadmill costs $500 to $3,000, plus the electricity, plus the room it takes up that could have had a window open. A fitness watch costs $200 to $500 and then charges a monthly fee to tell you what your body already knows, that you have been sitting too long. My grandmother did not need a watch to tell her to stand up. She stood up because the bread needed kneading and the garden needed weeding. The watch sells you an alarm for a problem she never had because she never sat long enough to need one. Add those up over 2 decades, and you are looking at somewhere between $15,000 and $30,000 spent on products whose job is to make you move your legs. The road in front of your house has done that since the day it was paved. The field behind your property has done it longer. The path to the mailbox and back has done it every day of your life without asking for a credit card number or a 12-month commitment. A personal trainer costs $50 to $150 per session. The first thing most of them will tell you to do is walk. They will dress it up in longer words: cardio, active recovery, low intensity, steady state. Strip those words away, and they are charging you $75 to tell you what the road has been saying for free your whole life. Every person selling gym memberships and treadmills and fitness watches has never walked 18,000 steps behind a plow. They have never carried a bale to the barn or pushed a wheelbarrow uphill or walked to the neighbor's farm because the telephone cannot reach. They sell movement back to people who traded it for convenience, and a whole nation believes the only answer is the monthly bill. I am not telling you there was a meeting where the fitness companies decided to keep this quiet. I do not believe in that kind of thing. It is a quiet agreement among everybody who profits to never mention the free alternative. The gym does not need to call the treadmill company. They just all need to stay quiet about the road, and they have for decades. That road in front of your house has been there longer than any gym in your county. It does not charge a membership or require a reservation. It does not close on holidays or break down or need a software update. It goes in every direction and connects to every other road, and it has been waiting for you to use it the way your grandparents used it, not for exercise, but for living. Your doctor is a good person inside a system that pays for stress tests on a treadmill at $1,000 per visit, but has no billing code for walking to the mailbox. So the walk never comes up, and you leave the office with a referral instead of a direction to the door. My grandmother would have told you exactly that, at no charge, and she would not have needed a follow-up. My grandfather walked behind a team of Belgians on this land every day of his working life. His back was straight, and his knees were sound, and his heart beat steady into his 80s. The doctor in town told him once that he had the blood work of a man 20 years younger, and my grandfather did not understand why the doctor was surprised. He did not think he was doing anything remarkable. He was just getting from one end of the farm to the other, day after day, year after year, the way his father had done on this ground before him. So does my father, who works this land now, and his body tells a similar story. So do I, and so will my children after me. 4 generations walking these fields, and every one of us arriving at old age with our bodies intact because the work never let us sit down. And the women in my community walk just as far, though they would never call it that. Ruth walks from the house to the garden and back a dozen times before lunch. She walks to the neighbors with a plate when someone is sick. She carries wet laundry to the clothesline and back, and that laundry weighs more than most folks lift at the gym. She has never called any of it exercise, and she would laugh if you told her it was. The walking is invisible to her because the life requires it, and the life has always required it, and nobody in my family has ever had the option of sitting still. Normal living. That is all it ever was. The way people in this country moved for 200 years. Then someone put a motor on a belt, bolted a screen to it, locked it inside a building with no windows, and charged a monthly fee for the privilege of walking to nowhere. So here is what I want you to do tomorrow morning. One thing and nothing else. Walk out your front door and keep going for 30 minutes. Any direction, any speed. Under the sky, on the ground. If your knees complain, walk on the grass instead of the pavement. If that feels like too much, start with 15 and add 5 every week. The road is patient and it will still be there when your legs are ready for more. If you need a destination, walk to the nearest tree and stand under it before you walk back. 2 practices from this channel in one trip, and the only cost is the time it took to lace your shoes. Pay attention to what you feel when you walk outside instead of inside. The air on your face and the light hitting your skin. The ground shifting slightly under each step in a way no machine can replicate. Notice the sounds that are not the hum of a motor or the drone of a television. The birds, the wind, the crunch of gravel, or the swish of grass under your shoes. These are not decorations on the walk. They are the walk. They are what the body has been waiting to receive while you were walking in place under fluorescent lights. You will feel the difference before the week is out. The legs loosen, the breathing deepens, and the heaviness that settles on folks who sit too long begins to lift. The researchers have found that for mild cases of that heaviness, the walk does roughly what the pills do, without the side effects and without the monthly cost. I will not make that claim for anyone. I am not a doctor, and the research covers the mild cases, not the severe ones. But the researchers who are doctors have made it, and they were surprised by their own data. Once you have walked outside on real ground for a week, everything else I have shown you on this channel locks into place. The sunlight, the ground, the trees, the evening dark. Walking is the thread that ties all of it together. And it was never exercise, it was just living. Tell me in the comments where you walk and what time the sun comes up, where you are this time of year. I want to know who is trying this. I read every single one. Next time I am going to show you what happens to the children in my community who grow up doing all of these things from birth. The doctor in town says he has never seen healthier kids in his practice. There is a reason, and it starts before they can walk. What your body needs has not changed in 10,000 years. Only what they sell you has changed.